And if I had to be another person to stand up, if I think, after really going through this, and looking at the files and looking at the case, if I really feel that Karen Reed didn't do this and I have to be a voice that stands up and helps, I will.
We are expecting to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
We're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Now, just be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Karen Reed's not going to fold. Karen Reed's not going to give up. Defense team's not going to quit. The Free Karen Reed movement is going to continue. We will continue to raise funds for her. We will continue to do standouts across Massachusetts, across the nation, across the world to let everybody know what's going on here in the state of Massachusetts, the corruption. And we will continue to get the word out there. Believe me. Believe me. All right. It's Monday. And yeah, some things going on in the Karen Reed retrial. I want to welcome everybody back into the LTL Monday night windup. Not too much stuff going on, right? Everybody in the chat, just a simple, plain old day in the Karen Reed trial. Oh my God. I literally texted Todd McGhee as Officer Kelly Dever, whatever it may be, Mr. Jackson. I was texting Todd McGhee immediately going, oh my God, what is going on right now? And Todd and I were texting back and forth and just breaking all this testimony down. I called him during one of the sidebars. I said, we got some material tonight, boy. We got some material tonight. But what did we find out today? We found out that Officer Kelly Devers is friends with Sarah Levison. She is friends with her, known her since she was a child. And then also we found out that she was going to put up that thick blue wall of defense. But what do you all think? What did you all think? Was it a positive thing for the Commonwealth today, or did this help the defense? I can't sort all this out. I have to bring in my amazing guest this evening. We're going to bring in retired Mass State Police Todd McGhee. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Ready for the windup.
Oh my gosh. And we can't do this. We need some law. We need some law in the house tonight. We need some law in the house. Attorney Nan Gallagher, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Brian? How are you, Todd?
Doing great, Nan.
I don't have any words. First initial opinions here about Kelly Dever. Todd, what were you thinking here today when this was all unfolding?
Yeah, I think Nan said it best last week in last week's show. What a shit show. It just turned into more fireworks. Jackson threw out the thin blue wall. I mean, just went right for the jugular. Really, really heated testimony. So just looking forward to getting into all the nitty gritty tonight.
Oh, we're going to get into it. Nan, first impressions when you were watching this unfold. Did your mouth drop and hit the floor?
Oh, it did. And I have one word, train wreck. And honestly, that couldn't have gone better. Anyone who thinks, oh, that was awful for the defense, they have no idea what they're talking about. This is just antis being antis. This unfolded beautifully. It was a risk to call Dever or Dever, I'm going to interchange that for this trial in light of the fact that they knew that she wasn't going to be cooperative. And it doesn't matter, folks, because the jury got to see it. And so did we.
Nan, do you think this was by design from the defense? Did they know? Did they have the information? Did they have the sources to find out that this was going to go this way? Did they have a feeling? And let me ask you before you answer it, is this something that attorneys prepare for? They have one road that they may go down, but if it goes a different way, they go, a different direction. How does this all unfold?
Yes, and this happens frequently when you subpoena fact witnesses. So they're not your witness if you're the attorney. They're just an independent, I'm using that extremely loosely with this woman, but they're an independent third party. So you subpoena them. Sometimes you even have to worry at trial if they're going to show up. You try to call them, you try to get them pinned down. So they knew that ahead of time. I read some tea leaves. They knew ahead of time that she was not going to be, or had a, a high likelihood of not being cooperative. Something came out in her testimony today where she kind of said, and we spoke a year ago, and at that time they threatened me, which it wasn't a threat, and I'm happy to discuss that, but they threatened me with perjury charges, which never happened, by the way. But at the same time, if the subject of perjury came up pre-first trial, then they knew she was a loose cannon. And what happens is you kind of create as an attorney, and that's for all witnesses, whether they're your own or you're not. You create a game plan. You kind of say, okay, if they're going to cooperate and give me what I need, then I go this route. If they don't cooperate, I go that route. And even if it's your own witness, it's not a matter of cooperation. It's a matter of, okay, I'm going to lead them down this path. And if they don't get to right where I need them to be, here's plan B. But isn't it like, was it Mike Tyson? Some boxer said, like, you don't really have a until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe everyone thinks Alan got punched in the face today. I don't think he thought he got punched in the face, and I don't think he thought he was going to get punched in the face. This was gold.
Yeah, it was gold. Todd, how did you feel being a former Mass State Trooper, officer of the law, watching Dever testify today? How did this make you feel watching this?
So, Brian, we saw this in previous testimony from other police officers. Police officers, we go through courtroom training in the academy. And one of the things that we are trained is how to not get trapped by an attorney. It backfires every time. And every time a police officer has a fear of being trapped, they go in and add long-winded responses. They're evasive in their responses, and they come off less credible. Even if they're being truthful, that posture exemplifies being evasive. So if you stick to the truth, stick to the storyline of what transpired based on your investigation, you're going to come out okay. I'll add that Jackson, Yannetti, and Alessi, they really don't, they walk down, they've got a strategy, but they don't really have gotcha moments.
Right.
They walk you through, they're going to hold you to account of what your previous testimony is. They know the answers to their questions, but they don't really go for gotcha moments. So, I would encourage any future witness to just tell your story the way it transpired, the way you know it to be truthful.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of hesitation. Oh, I'm sorry, Todd.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I thought there was a lot of,
right.
no, I thought there was a lot of hesitation. I thought there was coaching, because when she was asked the questions by Alan Jackson today, she didn't have a direct answer. The minute Hank Brennan got up, it just flowed out so eloquently, like a Beatles song. It just came right off her lips.
Oh,
Man,
yeah.
do you think she was coached?
Oh,
and
yeah.
spoken to by this commissioner? Hey, just do the right thing.
Just do it. Isn't just do it or do it a theme in this case? She was absolutely coached, and coached poorly, I might add. I don't know who coached her. Maybe it was her attorney, but whomever did prepared her horribly, and should maybe give me a call and I'll give them a few lessons. And as far as the pauses, some of her pauses before questions, and some of the facial expressions that came along with the pauses, makes me really, really happy again and again that the defense team pushed for the smaller courtroom. That smaller courtroom allows the jury to assess the physique, the facial expressions, the pauses, the demeanor, the eye rolls of every witness. And like, I encourage everybody to go back and count the number of seconds that Ms. Dever waited, or Dever, that she waited to answer whether or not there were like cameras in the Sally port. I mean, that's ridiculous. There were cameras, or how they were situated in the Sally port. She paused easily for about 7 or 8 seconds for a question that she should know off the top of her head.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, to Nan's point, long responses, long quiet responses. So that now tells you, put your behavioral analyst, the brain is processing, and the brain is processing, what do I put in this moment? Jury's watching me. I'm in front of the judge. I've got attorneys peppering questions at me. So that sense of ambivalence, the brain registers as discomfort. That's a fact. And if she puts out the wrong statement, then also keep in mind she's got in the back of her mind perjury. So it may not have been an issue before, but it certainly is right now.
Yeah, we heard about the FBI today. That got in there quite a few times. It went from officers to agents, and then the 3-letter word was spoken today, the FBI. What happens with this now? Is the FBI now allowed to be talked to during ARCA? Because that's the big thing. Remember last time, can't talk about where this information came in, Mr. Jackson. I'm not going to allow it. But now that it's been said through Dever's testimony, does this come into this trial? Either one of you, if you want to take it first, please.
Yeah, I'll grab it just because it's probably an evidentiary issue, Todd. The short answer is, I believe it should come in. The existence of the FBI as the boogeyman and investigative body that's been looking at this should come in. However, one, it's Bev. There's always the Bev quotient that we have to consider, which she does. If there's a way that she should rule properly, she goes the other way. 2, this was Alan Jackson's witness. So even though she wasn't formally declared hostile, and she was by all senses of the word hostile to him, and kudos to Bev, she allowed Jackson to lead her as on direct. So I was surprised that happened. But she was Alan's witness on direct. It could arguably have been a slip of the tongue. Okay, so there should be an application if it comes up to allow the FBI to be mentioned in this case when discussing ARCA, or at least they should go for it and battle it out with the judge at sidebar. But at this point, it should come in. I mean, it's the cat's out of the bag. And honestly, if it doesn't come in with ARCA, the jury has the breadcrumbs and the Easter eggs it needs to connect all the dots.
Todd, what were you thinking when we found out that she is childhood friends with Sarah Levinson, someone that was there at 34 Fairview that night?
It's just indicative of this case, just another layer. It just shows, all of the layers of relationships in that small little town. I'm not surprised. Not surprised.
Yeah, 6 degrees of separation, and it's enough for juries to kind of say, what's going on here? But I would like to add one point, Brian, which is this. Even though Ms. Dever says that she had a false memory, which is a load of bullshit, in my opinion, and did not in any way come off as credible, anyone knows, even Commonwealth witnesses like McCabe and Roberts had testified and admitted that your memory is more succinct and accurate, closer in time to the event or conversation. So when she spoke to the feds in August of 2023, she had a better memory, and nothing was going to change that, even the production of some timeline thereafter. But in thinking about this, even though she wouldn't concede that, yes, that she really reluctantly conceded that that's what she said at that time and doesn't believe it now, the jury gets to see the totality of the picture. They get to see whether she believes what she's saying, and pardon my dog barking, it will stop. But I dare say that, I hope so. Either that or the trolls are coming to get me. But I dare say that ultimately it doesn't matter if she admitted to having said it and believe it. The jury's going to buy it. I'm going to put myself on mute for a moment.
All good. Take care of what you need to do. What we're going to do now is we're going to pull up the testimony from Kelly Devers or Devers. Come on, Mr. Jackson. You can't even say it. We're going to pull that up and go through her testimony today. So let's do that. And before I do that, I actually want to get some of these chats out of the way. I got Olaf, the Russian metalhead, says, I wonder how many times Higgins hit on Kelly Dever. That's a good one. I like that. Britt Happens, thank you. Channel member, channel moderator, friend, has been into the studio here. Last time she was up from Florida, hanging out here in the studio. Another lovely reflection on law enforcement. And we got Norman Corey, $5, says, Kelly will never be able to testify again. Every defense lawyer will ask her when she was on the stand, and if she has false memories, she is done. It's pretty good point there.
I agree with that.
Got Sham. Wow. We got a Canadian friend checking in tonight. $10 says, I can't believe Spanky got Dever to say to her unfriendly witness that her job is on the line by what she says here today. Absolutely. That's a good point. And AJ pounced on that. Thanks, Hank.
He does a great job, Brian, of pouncing on words. He did it with nefarious for McCabe. He did it with malicious today as well with Ms. Dever. That is critical lawyering. That's like really keen thinking. So it comes with, it's a feel. It comes with your experience and comfort and confidence as an attorney. I cannot believe the dog's still barking. So
it's okay
sorry.
if you need to go do your thing. We can wait, no problem.
All right.
We have PTSD, PTS, $20 super chat says, I think Cox's history of being a victim of police brutality and a cover-up is actually why he told Devers to tell the truth. He really wants the truth, which is most likely was the statements to the FBI. She's dangerous to citizens. We got Sham Wild, $5. Canadians says defense should be allowed to introduce ARCA as hired by a different law enforcement agency that isn't Canton PD or Mass State Police. They're actually hired independently in this case, not by the Commonwealth or the defense. So we can throw that point in as well too. You know what I noticed, and I don't know if you all touched on this or maybe people in the chat saw this today, but I have to say, as this was all unfolding, I wanted to see how the Reed team was reacting when they were getting up back and forth from sidebars. And I got to admit, I saw it. I think saw some smiles on some faces today.
Wow.
And exactly. There was one point when they actually talked about who charges people with perjury. And the camera started to pan in on Karen Reed's face. And when Alan Jackson said the DA, Karen nodded her head like, yep. They sure do. And I don't know if anybody else caught that.
I did. I saw it. And I want to make a point on this, if you don't mind, gentlemen, because I had made a comment on my social media the other day about, I was wishing the defense a lot of luck in presenting their defense case. And I said, I wish them luck and I hope they have a little fun. And some people pounced on me like, this isn't fun. How dare you say it's fun? Let me just say something to everybody who's involved here and who watch trials like this, even ones that are coming up in national cases like the Brian Kohberger case. Lawyers and families involved, they have to find a little bit of joy in these moments. It doesn't mean that they're callous. It doesn't mean that they don't care or they don't take this seriously. It means that the lawyers are perfecting their craft. In this case, these lawyers know this is a complete sham prosecution. They want to show, they want to air the dirty laundry. So if they find a little joy and have a little fun in what they're doing, that's what they're going to do. And it doesn't mean that they take their oath or responsibility any less seriously. And as for the family, look at what they've been through. The most important thing for them is to find a little bit of satisfaction and joy that they can now tell a more robust story here, because we all can agree in 1.0 the defense didn't fully tell the defense story, and not that they have a burden to do it, but it is going to be a little fun for them when they have these moments.
It's looking for those little mini victories.
Yeah.
right? Which helped solidify that was the right strategy.
Right, Todd. Right.
And I'm going to ask you, Todd, before we go to testimony, are trained, sworn, tactical police officers supposed to have false memories of things?
So I've never heard that phrasing before. You know, and again, it just goes back to you're getting caught up in your own head and you're coming across not credible, and it's gonna benefit the defense at the end of the day. So
Yeah, I agree. All right, let me get to this and then we'll pull up the testimony. I am waiting to go through this with you all. Stephanie Park, $20. Thank you. Says, hey, Nan, after 20 years as an NP, I'm taking my LSTAT on Thursday. Thanks for being such an inspiration to women like me. Well, congratulations. I'm going to give you a round of applause and good luck on your test. And that was a very kind, yeah, it was a very kind super chat. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's get into it. So what I've done, I sped up probably through all the introduction stuff, and we'll get into like 8 minutes in is where really stuff starts to take off here. We're going to double it up a little bit. And when either one of you want to stop, just let me know. Or if I stop, we can opine during the pauses.
Brian, before
Yes,
you
ma'am.
start, can I just say here, like, this is a lesson in just looking at this god-awful screen grab that you have here, or your pause game, as the kiddies say. Like, this is an example of how not to come to court and how not to compose yourself. I'm not going to bash her personal appearance, but what I am going to say is any witness who comes to court, hair in the face, sitting there, hands down, with a pout on her face the entire time like a petulant child, it doesn't read well to a jury. Exude confidence, smile a little bit, or at least don't, she's got RBF, I suppose. I have it as well too. But this did not visually appeal to me whatsoever. Go ahead.
You know who she looks like? Sarah Levinson, when she was on the stand, exact same posture. Someone did a side by side on X today, and I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!"
Well, maybe they went to like the trial prep school together, and maybe they braided each other's hair the night before and told each other how to come across as truthful and credible.
She does look like Veruca Saltz, by the way. She does look like Veruca. I want it, and I want it now.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yes.
Oh God, no one put that out on X. She does look like Veruca Saltz.
I meant I walked inside and I sat down in a dispatch room.
Describe the dispatch room. What did that array look like?
There was chairs and computers.
Monitors?
Yes.
Does the dispatch area also have monitors of internal security camera footage?
I know there was camera screens, but I don't know if they were on TVs or computers or where in dispatch they were. I don't recollect where they were or how they would be accessed. They were in the room somewhere. I can't be more specific.
Ryan.
I don't remember.
But you do recall seeing that.
Yes, sir.
right off the bat.
Go ahead.
Right off the bat. So again, I've never been employed by Canton Police Department. However, you know the layout of your control room. You know the layout of your police department. You might not know exactly how many cameras are deployed, but you have a general good understanding of where they're at and what they're pointing at. That is exactly the point I was making earlier. She's already in her own head.
Mm-hmm.
Already in her own head, and her testimony is taking her down this dark path that she's not going to be able to walk away from. So
Yeah.
misremembering or whatever phrase she used, false memory. She's creating another false memory right now.
Yeah.
It's
I agree with that.
What is it? The Roger Clemens saying when he was testifying in front of Congress, misremembered. I misremembered. There's no word. There's no word. And we got false memory. I like that one too. Diana, thank you for becoming a new YouTube member. All right, well, back to testimony. Here we go.
There were monitors that were showing different views of internal security camera footage of Canton PD, correct?
The specifics, no. Were there? Yes.
I don't know what you mean by specifics. I'm asking you, were there monitors that you could look at that showed security camera footage from inside Canton PD, different areas, hallways, corridors, offices, the Sally port, for instance?
So 2.5 years since I've
You keep saying 2.5 years later.
She was prepped.
It's been years since I've been in that room. They were somewhere in the room. Where cameras were in the Canton Police Department, I don't recall. The media's provided me information since this case took place, and I can't speak on what's my recollection and what's been media provided.
coached.
There are cameras. I don't know where on my memory where they are.
Todd, come on. If you were out of the business for 2 years and someone said, could you remember what it looked like inside the control room where this was I don't know, the filing cabinet, where were the monitors, where was, whatever, supplies, you would remember.
I retired in 2011. I know exactly the control room at Logan Airport, Troop F barracks. I remember the academy.
Todd, it's been years. You're not supposed to remember this stuff. It's been years, Todd.
The last time I worked at the State Police Academy assignment was pre 9/11. I remember the exact layout of not just the desk, but the layout of the building and all the different areas. So it's just, she went down a path that she shouldn't have, and it's a bad look for her.
Nan, what do you think about this coaching?
Well, the coaching is awful. So she clearly is rehearsed, and that sticks out immediately to an attorney like me. But also, not two other points. One, not only will she later say she had false memory of the Berkowitz-Higgins event at the Sallyport and how long they were there, but now we're getting the first taste of, I don't remember where cameras were located. So not only does she have false memories, she has a crappy memory as it relates to things that she would normally know about. The other point I would make is this was the beginning here in her testimony of where she intentionally inserts other parties to this story. So we're seeing, it's the media has inserted this. The media has clouded my experience and my memory. Then she's going to pivot, as we're going to see, to the defense has threatened me with perjury.
That's right.
And then thereafter, and points 2 and 3 might be switched or inverted, as they say. But then thereafter, she'll say the FBI. So she mentions her experience with the FBI. It's the inclusion and introduction of these additional characters to this story that make it more and more less believable to someone like me. I have a very critical eye for it. Doesn't mean I'm better than anyone else. We're all kind of seeing it. But to the untrained eye, like the jury, she did enough here throughout to just damage herself altogether. And I dare say she's going to be a problem for the police moving forward if any criminal defense attorney gets their hands on her in terms of a courtroom.
You put all the I'm going to use this word, the malarkey that she has in her testimony, pull that aside. Let's start pulling names out of it. Brian Higgins, Hank Brennan, the commissioner's name, and it slipped my mind right now. Commissioner
Cox.
Thank you. Cox. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of who else she talks about. Berkowitz. There's all your major players. Sarah Levinson. There's all your names. Those are all the ones that are connected in this big spin in circle that's been going on in Karen's case all
and
this whole time.
Another one is not named, but she talks about the legal counsel for the FBI. She talked to the legal counsel for the the legal counsel for the FBI. That's another character, which, by the way, was a gratuitous ad for her. And that never happened. Legal counsel for the FBI, that's called the Department of Justice.
Right.
Do you think they're talking to Ms. Deaver about how she had a false memory and hey, it's okay? Never happened. Never happened.
No, because you know why? And I'm thank God that you just brought this up, because it just brought this back to mind, because she had a conversation with the commissioner, pulled in that office, and she had probably some guilt on her conscience and got scared because they put the thumb down on her and said, this is the way that you're going to approach this, and this is the way that you're going to say it. She got scared and went back to the FBI and went, would it be bad if I X, Y, and Z? And they went, no, of course not, because that wouldn't be perjury. Oh, okay.
Yep. And on that point, I think there's some subtleties here too, because I think that even if she got pulled into the commissioner's office or there was any other external pressure on her, I actually don't feel in my gut that it was as overt as maybe you just described. I think it was more of a, well, I don't want to tell you what to do, but if you don't remember something, you don't remember something. Or if the media clouded your judgment, well, then it was really a false memory. See how subtle that is? But it's not a, we told you to do this. It's more of a, let me suggest to you an off-ramp. That off-ramp that'll get you to where you need to be to keep your job, keep your cushy day job for a rookie at the BPD. That doesn't happen. And then also your pension, which obviously you want to keep as well. So I think it was a subtle level of exertion, I'm guessing, but I imagine that's the case.
That exchange where she said, my testimony is everything.
Yeah.
That was a leak. That was a verbal leak about where her state of mind is at.
I agree. Here we go.
Has the media informed you that there were internal security monitors at the dispatch location?
So the objection is sustained. Next question.
What do you recall from the dispatch room, as you put it? What do you recall being there in terms of monitors?
I remember there was a computer screen that had information about current calls, and then there was a 911 screen next to that. Those are the two computers that I would have been positioned in front of during this time.
Look at the face, the pout.
Yeah, I was going to say, she's going to develop frown lines real quick. Enjoy your youth, honey.
As a dispatch officer, by the way, you were a sworn officer at
Yes.
that time, correct? Uniform, badge, gun, the whole works, right?
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Had you ever been in Sallyport at Canton PD?
Yes.
What's the Sallyport?
A Sallyport is a garage, essentially.
Okay.
It's garage,
You're aware that
by the way.
Sallyport garage had a camera, a security camera?
It would make sense because that's where we bring prisoners
Oh.
to drop them off.
Well, more than just makes sense. I'm asking you, do you recall that it had cameras that serviced the Sallyport garage? Security cameras.
It's where we brought prisoners, so there would be cameras, yes.
Okay, you're saying there would be cameras. I'm asking you, were there cameras?
According to the media, yes. I've seen the footage, so yes, there were
Yeah.
cameras.
Todd,
See it? It's there.
according to the media, she knows there's a camera there, Todd. She walks in that area every single day in the department.
Brian, you know who else did this? Buchanan.
Yes.
Yep.
Gave the same non-response answers that should be simple yes or
And if you
And
notice,
Gallagher, not this Gallagher, but the other Gallagher. Same thing.
and if you notice, Brennan said to her, "You've never spoken to me, correct?" And I dare say she probably spoke with McLaughlin or Lally. I'm guessing, but it's very subtle to say, "Well, you've never spoken to me." Right. I have a feeling someone from the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office spoke to her, or there was some type of intermediary. But yeah, she knows where those cameras are, and she's just being cutesy right now, and it's not working for her. And this is now, so we can all watch it, the trend of where she went from being what should have been a neutral third-party fact witness. Now she's getting adversarial. Now you're going to start seeing the, well, yeah, I mean, there would be cameras there, of course. And then you'll start seeing the, well, just as you mispronounced my last name, ... So that is a bad position for a witness to be in. In some instances, it's a bad position for an attorney asking the questions to be in, but not AJ. I mean, he's loving this.
I love the fact that he even gets to the point and says, "Do you even want to be here today?" I love that. And she goes, "This has nothing to do with me." It does have things to do with you, honey. You were there.
Yeah, that was unheard of. And that line of questioning, Brian, could have been objected to and sustained by the judge. So I'm happy that there were no objections to that.
Yeah. Let's just do this real quick. Get a couple super chats out of the way. What I need everybody to do, make sure you smash the like button. It's free to do that. If you smash that like button, this gets out more into the algorithm and we can get more people over here to the LTL experience. Brett Happens, thank you so much for $5. She says, time for me to pull on my education background. Repetition is the most effective means of learning. Dever Dever. was in that room every day and she remembers. 100% agree. Rocco, thank you so much for the 10. Says there was change in her body language and AJ asked questions about the involvement in the Boston PD legal counsel. She stiffened up, gave one-word answers, not very able to me. Yep, ShamWow, thank you so much for the 5. Canadian, as a rookie, Deaver believes she sees something, says something she knows different. How dare you? Josh, $2 says, honestly, I think Officer Deavers is in need of an attorney, quite possible. And how did I get here? $2. Thank you so much. All right, back to testimony. Here we go.
All right, so hold on. So I'm going to strike that, officer. You have to answer.
Josh says, I bet she spoke to Tully. Possibly.
Yes, I noticed, Brian, a lot of people said Tully, Tully, Tully when I was musing about who she spoke to.
Reference what you know from the movie.
All right.
What is this?
There were cameras in the Sally port.
She knew the answer.
Yeah.
And how to fight him.
AJ, thank you. That's all I wanted.
Ms. Dever, do you want to be here today?
I have no relation to this case,
I
so
didn't ask you that. I asked you if you want to be here today.
Objection. This isn't direct.
So it's your witness.
I understand.
She can,
Objection.
no comments.
This
just
isn't direct.
questions, Not, I understand that.
Do you want to be here today now?
I am put on the stand in a murder trial. I don't know why I'm here. I have no connection to this case.
That's coached.
You have no idea why you're here?
You've never talked to me. Nobody on the fence seems to talk to me since prior to the first trial. So I don't have any idea why I'm here.
Completely untrue.
As you sit here, why do you mind being called to stand?
No.
Are you uncomfortable testifying?
No, it's part of my job.
You're a professional police officer, correct?
Correct.
That means you're a professional witness to certainly, correct?
In the crimes that I've gone on the stand before, yes, I have been.
And you understand the oath?
Yes, I do.
What is that oath?
The oath is to tell the truth.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
I'll rephrase it. Is there more to that oath when you raise your right hand as a witness?
Objection.
So let me see it side by side.
Sure.
All right, we'll pause here real quick. Any reactions, either one of you? I'll go to Todd first.
Yeah, it's just more that, oh my goodness, it's just more that I'm trying to cover CYA so I don't drag myself into the swamp that I just stepped into. I've never, this has got to be one of the worst testimonies out of all the witnesses that have come forward.
And folks, this is a law enforcement officer, Mr.
Yeah.
McGhee, who's telling you this. I dare say you're not alone in law enforcement, Todd, who has that opinion. There has to be other law enforcement who've watched her testimony and said, wow, this is the best we can do here. I mean, that, look, if they wanted, they being whomever wanted to go with this narrative on this issue, wanted her to be of the position that this was a false memory and try to erase really favorable facts for the defense, which, by the way, let's not forget, the Commonwealth is supposed to be searching for the truth. But what you saw here was Brennan hiding the truth and trying to defend the truth and literally double down that a law enforcement officer employed by a major city in the state of or Commonwealth of Massachusetts had a false memory. That prosecutor just doubled down on that. But as you sit here today, her testimony, it was cringeworthy. At this moment, it was cringeworthy watching it.
At best. Here we go. Sidebars will be cut, by the way, in this video.
You know, Brian, as they're coming back from
Yes, sir.
sidebar, you know, Nan touched on this just recently as far as fact finding and finding the truth. The fact that Proctor's high school buddy read his text messages, again, his name keeps coming up and he's physically not inside the courtroom. The jury has got to be taking note of that, right? So it's just, again, another layer of all these different things starting to add up. And it's just a continuation of Brennan's case not having a solid case in trying to hide the truth and trying to hide factual information. It's all coming to light. Everything that he's tried to hide keeps coming to light.
I agree with that so much, Todd. And it's the hiding of evidence by the Commonwealth here. They're hiding the truth. I'm not even talking about the big picture that there was no collision. I'm saying every little way in this case, the Commonwealth through ADA or especially appointed district attorney Brennan, he's just trying to hide all facets of truth from this jury and from the public and the taxpayers. Everyone should be really pissed off right now.
Yeah, I just lost my train of thought, but maybe it will
Sorry.
come back to me. No, it's okay. I was going to say something about hiding the truth. Oh, yeah. And we even saw it at the beginning of testimony today with Proctor's friend. Before they even get up and bring him in, they're redacting text messages. Bev's like, oh, I'm going to take this out. I'm going to allow that. She's controlling the narrative again in this case. I can't believe it. It's sickening. It's very, very sickening. All right, back from sidebar. Here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
A lot of conversation at that defense table. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I had a little freeze screen here. There we go.
One of the cameras, one of the monitors that you had access to back on January 29th did show the footage from, or did it show the footage from that, one of the other Sallyport garage cameras?
Can you rephrase the question?
Sure, it was a little bit clunky on my part. Did one of the monitors that you looked at, that you had access to at the dispatch area, did it show the video footage or the video feed from the Sallyport garage?
So I already said I don't remember where in dispatch the screen with the cameras was. There was a camera in the Sallyport. So if I'm going to make the assumption, then yes, of course. But now that's an assumption.
I'm not asking you for an assumption. I'm asking you, did one of the feeds, now we're talking about the camera, the other side of the camera is the feed. Do you recall whether or not there was footage that you could see on a monitor in the dispatch area that showed the Sallyport?
This is bad.
Going to go with yes?
Okay.
I'm going to go with yes.
I'm going to go with yes.
So, Brian, she testified that when the call came in, her Sergeant Good, ordered her back to run dispatch. Not her first time sitting at the desk.
No.
You know, inside of that police station, every nook and cranny for what was she employed there? 2-3 years?
2 years.
2 years. You know every nook and cranny, every camera, where it's pointing. Also, you want to know how you appear on camera when you're bringing your prisoner in, or if you're just in and about moving around the station. So again, this her testimony is so troubling for credibility reasons.
Todd, I don't believe one word of her, because that area of the police department is probably one of the most critical, right? You have all your equipment in there, all your monitoring equipment. You probably have your phones that people would pick up if there's any type of emergency, all your police radio equipment. I don't know what other things, what kind of other things would be in that control room, Todd?
Inside that entire building, that is the pulse of the police department.
Yeah.
Everything goes through there, to include roll call, to include all of the calls coming in from your community, as well as other police departments. You have a thing called BAPERN, which communicates with other law enforcement agencies. So if something's happening in the next town or the next state, that police department will be able to get real-time information. So all of that comes right through the pulse of the control room.
All right, let's go back to testimony. Here we go. Veruca Saltz.
So what do you mean you're going to go with yes? Did you answer
She
that?
looks like Veruca Saltz.
She does.
What is this? Look at this.
Count the seconds.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's good. Look at this.
Yes.
Thank you.
She
What time
is
about,
protecting.
did you take over the dispatch desk that morning?
Immediately following when the 911 call came in.
Would have been 6-ish in the morning. Does that sound about right?
Sometime I would say towards the later of my shift, but it was the middle of winter and dark out. So I don't know if it was 4, 5, 6.
Understood. But it was still dark out.
Yes.
Once you took over the dispatch desk, did you stay there even past your normal shift ending to support the investigation that was ongoing?
Not to support the investigation. I was just on overtime.
Okay. So you stayed past your normal end time of your shift that day?
Yes, on overtime.
You stayed into the afternoon, correct?
I believe the shift ended at 3:45 p.m. for the Canton Police.
But you stayed past your ending shift time, correct? I'm sorry, I'll rephrase it. Did you stay past your ending shift time?
For my regular shift, yes, because I was on overtime on the day shift.
Did you observe anything unusual that stood out in your mind that occurred, pardon me, in the Sally Port while you were on that shift?
So we've discussed this previously. I can't make that statement on the stand because I've been provided information released by the defense that it was not a memory, that it was a distorted memory. Therefore, I can't state it because at this point it would be a lie. I cannot make that statement that you're wanting me to make on the stand because I've advised that that would be a lie.
Ms. Dever, I've never asked you to make a statement one way or the other on the stand. I'm asking you an open-ended question.
Okay,
Did
so
you,
prior
let
to
me
the
ask
first
the question. Did you observe something in the Sally Port garage on January 29th, 2022 that you found unusual, that stuck out in your mind?
given factual information that makes it so I know I did not, no.
So the answer is no.
Correct.
Do you remember being interviewed on August 9th, 2023?
I do.
That was by a separate law enforcement agency, correct?
Yes.
Two separate law enforcement agencies.
Okay. So this is the first mention of the FBI here. So we're going to go to law enforcement agency, and it's going to turn into agents, and then it's just going to flat come out FBI, which is, I was like, what is going on?
And
She
Brian,
is protecting here. Yes, Nan, go ahead.
and sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
When this is also a subtlety that I'm now noticing, I didn't pick up on it earlier. She first says she gets this timeline, or she'd been provided material from the defense.
Right.
We now also we also know, and I think she might have said it already, that she's received things or learned things through the media.
Yeah.
Who has given her this quote information to dispel any misstatements or mismemories that she had? So if she thought at the time she was interviewed by the feds that she saw Berkowitz and she saw Higgins go into the Sally Port for a wild period of time, right,
Yeah.
which is where the murder weapon was.
Yeah.
But which is only a year and a half after the events. But she's now said the defense gave me information. I've heard things or I've learned things in the media. And I dare say there may have even been an additional source of timeline information given to her.
You don't think that she hasn't had conversations with Sarah Levinson, Nan? Come on, they
Right.
grew up together.
So, like, part of me now says, I wonder if AJ should have probed this issue a little bit more. But I know now he was being mindful not to open any strategic doors, because if he opened it, then she would say, well, I heard this and I saw that. I do have to say, though, I'm surprised the judge allowed discussion about media interest or media coverage of this matter. I would have expected a little objection from that and the court strike it. But it was just notable to me.
Yeah, she
Todd,
did correct her earlier when she made reference to learning of certain information from the media. Judge Cannoni did catch her on
Did
that.
she? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, let's get this chat out of the way, and I'm going to go back and do a couple more. What I need everybody to do is smash the like button and subscribe down there. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that. Again, my guest this evening is attorney Nan Gallagher, and on the other side, we have retired Mass State Police Trooper Todd McGhee. Bill, $10, asking Todd, Trooper McGhee, thank you for your service and your honesty. Do you ever catch any crap for speaking out against your former org? What percentage of former troopers are with you?
Never once. Never has anyone called me out that is a current officer or state trooper within the Mass State Police. I do my best to speak the truth. I try to avoid being provocative. Brian knows when we first started this relationship with LTO Media, I was steadfast in not making any hard speculative decisions. And it wasn't until the medical evidence came through, it wasn't until ARCA came through, it wasn't until the ME's office opined in this case until I formed my full opinion. So that's how I roll, that's how I am. And I've gotten no pushback.
Love it. And Todd and I have come a long way together in our conversations and in talking about this case. And it's funny, I always reference, I go back to the first time I saw Todd on that PBS special out of Rhode Island. And I said, gosh, this guy knows so much about this case. And, you know, I'm like, I feel, you know, in my opinion, I just feel like it's inside him. He wants to say more, but he needs more information. And I've seen the development through the lives that we've had together and the development. I was going to say, you've come a long way around on this case, and we really appreciate your expertise in this. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see, $2 from Karma says Diva was like, I'm here so I don't get fined.
Yeah.
Mika, $5 says, Nan, when you're in the courtroom, do you think objections really sound like they do on stream? Like he's quietly limping in with his objection.
Yep. It's pathetic. They're flat, they're monotonous. And also, I mean, it clearly shows because you can see how passionate he is when he cross-examines or makes arguments before the judge. But when it comes to objections on witnesses where he knows he doesn't have a leg to stand on, it's like a limp noodle.
Marianne, $5 says, what a circus. Lead clown Brennan. I think the jury will come back not guilty, and it won't take long if you're doing dispatch. Aren't the monitors in front of you? Yes, they are. Kim R, thank you so much for the 2. She says she will probably get promoted. Quite possibly. All right, back to
Is that right?
Yes.
And you were advised during the course of that interview on August 29th of something, correct?
Can you rephrase
I'm sorry,
that?
August 9th.
So what was I advised of? Can you rephrase that?
Sure. Were you advised that lying to those officers would be a crime?
So it was a willing conversation. I've spoken with their legal team. Because of the fact I was providing factual information that showed a statement of mine was a false memory, it was not a lie. Therefore, I made it in good faith, and I retracted given information that it could not be accurate.
Sounds like a robot.
Yes, I did. You threatened to charge me with perjury during our phone call prior to the first trial if I didn't lie on the stand right now. I'm telling you, I did not see anything.
So she did implicate it was Jackson. That's what I was looking. She said, you threatened to charge me with perjury.
Yep.
So she did implicate Jackson, and I think he's going to fire back here.
Factually, I've been provided evidence by a timeline that it is not correct.
Ms. Dever, my question was this. Were you advised that it was a crime to lie to those law enforcement agents? Yes or no?
No.
They never told you. They never admonished you that it would be a crime to lie to them?
Objection.
Sustained. As to form, Mr.
Objection.
Sure. Did they advise you of anything? Any consequences of lying to them?
So we had a willing conversation.
Yes or no?
I don't recall.
We had
Okay,
a
there's your-
willing
Oh, that's
conversation.
Did they
bratty.
advise you of anything?
No, because it
As
wasn't.
a trained law enforcement agent.
Go ahead and ask a question, but both of you only one at a time, okay?
As a trained law enforcement officer, are you aware that it's a crime to lie to certain other law enforcement agents?
When you have intent to lie, yes.
Okay. So you knew that when you spoke to these law enforcement officers, correct?
Yes.
Did you tell these law enforcement officers that you in fact
The
saw
FBI.
Brian Higgins and Chief
It's
Berkowitz
the FBI.
go into the Sally Port with the
Objection.
SUV? May I finish my question?
You can finish this question. Go ahead.
Did you tell those law enforcement agents on August 9th, 2023, that you saw Brian Higgins and Chief Berkowitz go into the Sally Port together and alone with the SUV for a wildly long time?
That was my recollection at the time.
So you did say that.
Go
At
ahead.
the time, that is what I
Go ahead,
recollected.
Yeah, just a couple of points here. One, as to what she just said, I'm extremely happy. I was pleased that Judge Cannoni allowed some of that statement to come into evidence. That kind of didn't need to happen. So that's a small victory for the defense. He was able to also conduct his direct examination on this subject and lead her in this regard, almost like a hostile witness without having her declared hostile. The other 2 points I want to make on this is the following. One, I'm 100% confident that the defense, whomever it was, if any of them, they did not threaten her.
No.
It is very natural for an attorney when dealing with any fact witness to say, do you understand there are penalties of perjury? If, I have a statement in my hand and you're telling me something different on the phone, Ms. Deaver, do you understand there are penalties of perjury? Does anyone think that was a threat? That happens all the time.
That's the way it went down, Nan. Listen,
100%.
and you gotta pose it to this witness because what? She's one of them. She's on their side. So look, we want to get the facts straight. We want to get the story straight. And I just want to reiterate to you, please make sure that you're telling the truth in this, because if you lie, there's penalties of perjury. That's the way it went down.
Right. And we say that. I was talking to Linda Kenny Bodden earlier on Justice Served. We were talking about, like, before every deposition, in the beginning of every deposition, which is sworn out of court testimony, we're saying to witnesses, if you give an untruthful answer, there are penalties of perjury that may apply. Like, it's not a threat. Like, we're both whimsying, like, are we going to add that we're threatening these people in the beginning of depositions now? But the other point I wanted to make was with regard to the FBI. The FBI absolutely would not be telling her, Deaver, they would not be telling her, like, oh, okay, you can change your story now, and it was a false memory. They would have never gone along with that. And they absolutely would have warned her before any encounter with them that there are penalties, or it is a crime if she were to lie to them. So I want everyone to just understand the legal nuances there, that she would have been warned multiple times by the feds when she was giving her statement, and that she would never have been threatened by the defense. It just would have never gone down that way.
Yeah. Todd, I'm sure you've had conversations like that before you've had to testify, for cases. They probably had those conversations like, hey, just to let you know, if you lie, there's penalties of perjury. I'm sure you've had those conversations, right?
So I was deposed last year in a federal case. I was prepped by my attorney 2 hours in the office, and prior to the start of the deposition, you're testifying under the pains and penalty of perjury.
Right.
So it's, is your skin that thin that you take that as a threat where it's just procedural?
Right.
Yeah. I think she's doctoring it up because she's trying to play for the home team here. She's doctoring up. All right. Back to testimony. Veruca Saltz. She looks like Veruca Saltz so much.
Does. I can't unsee it now, Brian.
I
Thanks.
know. I can't. I want it, and I want it now.
Did you indicate
Somebody's
that
got to
you
do
noted?
a meme.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
You and I spoke, along with Mr. Unetti and Mr. Little, on a conference call last year sometime. You remember that?
Yes.
Between the time that you were interviewed on August 9th, 2023, and when we spoke sometime in maybe it was April or so of last year, does that sound about right?
Yes.
Did you have any conversation with any other party about your potential involvement in this case?
No.
Did you have a conversation with anybody in the commissioner's office at Boston Police Department?
Not about anything malicious.
I didn't use the word malicious. Why do you say malicious?
See?
I had a conversation, but it was my department saying, regardless of what I need to say on the stand, they support me.
You were asked to go to the commissioner's office, correct?
Yes.
How long had you been on the Boston Police Department at the time that you were invited to go up to Commissioner Michael Cox's office?
It had to have been before the first trial. So, and I know it was when the agency released information to outside people.
That's not my question.
Okay, so I don't recall.
Okay.
That's the FBI. That's what she's saying. Agency.
You don't know how long you had been on the force, generally, at the time that you were called up to the commissioner's office, on the Boston Police Department?
No.
Was it 5 years, 2 years, 2 months? Give me a ballpark.
So I've been on the department for 2 years and 2 months. I would say somewhere in the range of a year.
Okay. Did you find it unusual would you call yourself a rookie back then?
Yes.
Did you find it unusual that a rookie police officer would be called up to the commissioner's office personally?
It was a reflection of how good of a leader he is. It was not anything that I found unusual, given the fact he is someone who wanted to show support for his officer.
So I'm guessing all of your training class or all of your entry classes at Boston Police, they've all gone up to the commissioner's office as well?
I don't know anyone else who's been in this particular circumstance.
Exactly.
Do you know anybody else who's been called up to a commissioner's office at your level at the Boston Police Department?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know of any of your colleagues with your level of experience that have been called up to the commissioner's office for specific incidents.
Objection.
That's his case.
Now, when you went up to the commissioner's office, did you respond to his indication he wanted to see you up in his office?
It wasn't a direct line of contact from him.
Okay. Did you respond? Did you ultimately go? That's what I mean by respond. Did you go to his office?
He's my boss, so yes.
Okay. And who else was in that office?
Me and him, the two of us.
General counsel, the Boston Police Department?
No, it's just me and him.
Did you, during the conversation we had last year, did you say that general legal counsel for the Boston Police Department was also there?
Objection.
Not during that conversation. We
Objection.
Next question.
Sure. Was there
No,
another- went to the
Brian, I
Go
have
ahead.
a question to Todd about this, and I don't know, Todd, if this would be your experience, but do you find it normal, unusual, typical for a young police officer to be summoned to the commissioner's office to discuss this very issue?
Great question.
Like, I find that it's bugging me a little bit. Or would this not have been something that you can even speak to?
I can speak to it. I don't necessarily find it unusual that a superintendent would call in a rookie officer based on the high profile nature of this case.
Okay.
And in probably some fatherly guidance.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily take do the right thing as a nefarious statement, because it's, Joan O'Keefe was Boston Police in a great loss to the department. So for her to shield the truth, to impede justice for John O'Keefe, I'm having a hard time accepting that. I don't like her testimony.
Right.
I think she's going down a bunch of paths that are rabbit trails that she's not going to be able to clean up or remember if she were asked again in the future. But I don't think necessarily that her being called in. Now, what raises an eyebrow, they just mentioned something about legal counsel being in the room. That changes my position, right?
Right.
So at first glance, I see a superintendent calling in a rookie officer that is involved in a very high profile case. The flip side of that is the fact that if indeed legal counsel was there, that changes the scenario a little bit.
Yeah.
Todd, you don't think that she was coached? You don't think that
100%. So
he put his thumb down and said,
I don't think she was
thing
there.
here.
I don't think she was coached there. I think her coaching came somewhere else, legal counsel, her own attorney. And the problem is that when you take that bait of canned rehearsed responses, you don't know what the defense is going to ask you, the other attorney is going to ask. So how can you properly respond with a credible statement when you've got this canned remembered statement inside of your memory to regurgitate?
Yeah. I appreciate the insights, Todd, because I don't get to see what's behind the curtain there in terms of law enforcement. It's interesting.
Neither do I. Back to testimony. All right.
I can give you a real example. We had an incident happen, nothing to the level of what happened with Enrique Delgado Garcia. But I got a call from the colonel based on what was going on with this particular incident. And so it's not uncommon. And that was a firsthand experience. And it was a conversation of guidance that this thing's going to play itself out. I wasn't implicated in. There was another trooper that got themselves in the jackpot, but I was in a supervisory role as a drill instructor. And the way things had turned out, it made its way to the colonel's office, and I got a phone call, and it went down like that.
If everybody's wondering why I'm swatting and going, I have a little mayfly in here that's driving me crazy right now, and every time I'm so close to getting it, I'll get it.
I was wondering what you were doing.
I thought you were applauding Deaver's testimony.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Here we go.
No.
Have you ever met general legal counsel for the Boston Police Department?
They're not mushrooms.
Yes.
Was it in the commissioner's office?
No.
When was it?
During my conversation with the agents.
Oh,
You took a lawyer with
Ed's
you to
again.
talk to this other law enforcement agency?
I'm gonna see you at sidebar on this.
All right, sidebars will be cut. We got Veruca Saltz up there. See if we can catch some smile. David Yetti's smiling a little bit here. I noticed.
I was asking you about the meeting at the commissioner's office, and I want to clear this up. Was general legal counsel in that office or not when you had a meeting with the commissioner, Michael Cox?
No, it was just me and the commissioner.
At some point, did the commissioner say to you,
As the
that
media
Boston
checking
Police
in.
Department, insofar as your connection to this case is concerned, Boston Police Department fully supports you?
Yes.
Did he also say, do the right thing?
That's a direct quote. So I can't recollect if he said a direct quote 2 years ago.
A year ago, when you talked to us, the defense, did you tell the defense that when you were called up to the commissioner's office, he told you two things? Commissioner Cox told you, number one, Boston Police Department supports you, and Officer Deaver, do the right thing.
So he said my name correctly. He said Dever. And
That's my mistake. Let's see, you want me to repeat the question so I get
So,
that right?
Mr. Jackson, let's go ahead and answer, please.
yes, and he said nothing with the intent of guiding me one way or
I
the
asked you
other.
what his intent was, madam. I asked you what he said to you. What were his words to you?
That he supports me.
And
Just wanted me to tell the truth up here.
his words were, do the right thing, correct?
I don't recall.
She's got real memory problems.
How many other times have you?
Yeah, let's get to this question. A good question by Josh. Josh asked, why did Boston PD legal counsel accompany her to the FBI interview? Wouldn't that normally be a FOP provided by the lawyer?
Both. I would say both went.
What
You
is
didn't see
what am I missing? What is FOP that's not jumping out at me?
It's
Fraternal order. Fraternal
Oh.
order, please.
Oh, that's
Oh.
right.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Appreciate that. I do think it's unusual for legal counsel. This is hysterical, Brian. This is comic value.
It's like a tiny little mayfly. I can't get it.
No, keep it up. I enjoy the amusement. It would be unusual to me, even for the Boston PD legal counsel to be present with her. But, it just sticks out in my mind. I don't see that she would be questioned in her capacity as a BPD police officer. If anything, the attorney who should be representing her and giving her guidance should have been the attorney for the entity that employed her at the time of the event. So that would have been CPD, not BPD, which would have created a whole slew of other conflict issues.
I got it, by the way. All right, back to
Congratulations.
Testified in a court of law during the course of your job.
Two dozen, 3 dozen. And actually testified probably ballpark a dozen times.
In any of those other cases, has Commissioner Michael Cox called you up to his office to discuss your testimony in any of those cases? Yes or no?
That's not a yes or a no answer.
Well, yes, it actually is, Ms. Dever.
So no comments, okay? Just,
You understand the question?
The question, yes. The implication,
The question is, in any of those, I'm asking you an open-ended question. In any of those cases, Officer Dever, including this one,
I love that.
has Commissioner Michael Cox ordered you up to his office
Officer Dever. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
to discuss your testimony?
No.
Thank you.
That's a really bad look. Really bad.
all right, Mr. Brennan.
The old saying, you can't
Good
make a
morning.
purse out of a
Morning, sir.
sow's ear.
My name's-
You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. There's no way he can glam this up. The train is running down the track.
Yeah.
Good luck, Brennan.
Yeah, here we go.
Hank Brennan, we have never met
Hank
before.
Brennan. I'm Hank
Have
Brennan.
you ever spoken to me before?
no.
Yes, you have.
The defense team, Attorney Jackson asked you some questions this morning.
Oh, a couple
Yes.
of them.
It sounds like you've met them before.
Only by phone call.
How many times have you spoken to Attorney Jackson or anybody on the defense team before today?
Prior to the first trial, it was one phone call where we discussed the case. Outside of that, there may have been one other phone call before the first trial, but it wasn't a discussion of the case. And then prior to this trial, I received a phone call that said, confirm you will be available for one of these days.
Other than confirming you'd be available, was there any discussion before this trial with anybody on the defense?
Not about this case, no.
So the conversation, the substantive conversation was before the past event last year?
Yes, a year and a few months ago.
You worked at the Canton Police Department?
Yes, I did.
You were a police officer?
Yes, I was.
And it sounds like on January 29, 2022, at some point you were asked to attend the desk?
Yes.
The desk is at the front of the police department where you see people coming in and out of the police station?
Yes, there's glass windows.
That night, did you have any difficulty with your memory of the specific things that you saw that night?
I was never on the scene. I never spoke to a witness. I never met a victim. I never spoke with a suspect. This was just a random shift for me 3.5 years ago at a desk that I wasn't asked to recollect for over or about
What's that, Nan?
Sorry to interrupt. She did not answer his question. I mean, she's giving Brennan more information that benefits the Commonwealth, so he's going to let her go on with it.
Yeah.
If I were AJ, I would have objected to that and said it's not responsive.
a year and a half after the occurrences of that night.
Did law enforcement, not the state police or Canton police, did law enforcement ask you about your memory sometime after that night?
The agents asked me about a year and a half later. It was the August of 2023 meeting. So actually a year and 8 months later was the first time I ever spoke about this case.
When they spoke to you a year and 8 months later, did you suggest or share or tell them that you might have seen Chief Berkowitz and Mr. Higgins in the Sallyport area?
I told them on the day of that I saw that. I didn't make any indications it was anything bad. I just said I saw them. And it was in good faith that I believed I saw that. That was the extent of that comment.
So you had told them you believed you saw Mr. Berkowitz and Mr. Higgins in the Sallyport area that day?
On January 29th during my day shift, yes.
Did you then learn any information that helped you remember when your shift ended that day?
So I know my shift ended at 3:45 p.m. So I know that I left then. That wasn't ever one of my questions. The defense released a timeline right prior to the first trial that the vehicle on that day did not arrive in the Sallyport until about an hour and a half after I left, meaning it is not possible that I saw that.
When you saw this information, did you think about your memory?
When I saw that information, it made it clear to me that there was a distortion of the timeline and the false memory.
Isn't it amazing how everything is just flowing out here like a Beatles song? It's just going and going. It's just perfect.
There's no pauses.
hesitation. I know, Todd. There's no hesitation. She's just giving the information. She knows right away. It's almost like she knows this line of questioning's coming.
It's just smooth like butter to her. Like she's very rehearsed, but also she, as Macbeth, they said in Macbeth, she doth protest too much. There's definitely something here. And she made the statement then. So I just don't get it. She's now basing her false memory assertion on a timeline that the defense produced in terms of when the vehicle came to the Sallyport. There's no reason she would have then also given. I can't believe there's another bug.
No, you know what it is? Once my air conditioner kicked on in here, they came in from the roof, so they're probably looking for a way to get in. But anyway, go ahead.
But that's so funny. But I will tell you though, there's no reason other additional facts that were in that statement would have been included. Like she said, they were in for a wildly long period of time, and that was where the vehicle was stored. So like that goes beyond what time did she see them or what time did her shift end. She's making a blind deduction that by looking at a timeline, what she said previously must be false. Who the hell makes that kind of assertion? That's why she thinks it's a false memory. And I think AJ should have probed a little bit more on, have you ever had any other false memories? Let's talk about your faulty memory.
Yeah.
I would have kicked that a little bit harder.
It's a good one.
More meat on the bones.
That's right. That's
Todd
right.
always says more meat on the bone. Chrissy says, I'm waiting for Miss Diva to say the schnozberries taste like schnozberries. Oh God, I love it.
I provided in good faith, but I retracted immediately, being provided evidence that it was not possible.
Who did you retract it to?
So I told the defense team prior to the first trial. I also contacted the agents. The agents assured me that good faith.
Not what they said, but what you thought. Not what they said to you. But
Did they threaten to put you in jail when you told them about your mistake?
No, I even spoke with the legal team and they said that I made a comment in good faith. There was
The
absolutely
Department
no
of
way that I
Justice?
could be
Right.
charged with anything of being malicious.
Before we get to your conversation with the defense team, now I wasn't there in that conversation, was I?
No.
Have you ever shared that conversation with me?
I've never shared it with anyone.
Before we get to that, you seem a bit anxious. Are you anxious?
You think?
Yeah.
Confused as to why I'm here, but anxious now.
Are you, have you received any negative pushback because of you sharing your memory? Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
No.
Have you received any unwarranted?
Quick question for Britt Happens here. Good question for Todd. Todd, is in good faith part of the typical LEO jargon? Maybe she picked that up somewhere else. I want to see the Canton PD footage and of her leaving to know that when she actually left the building. That's a good point. Todd, if you want to answer that.
Yeah. Again, she's presenting a narrative that is nothing less than a rabbit trail, and she's Nan, help me with the phrasing on this. She's adding too many facts. or
Yeah.
non-facts.
Lies tend to get very
Overly explained.
grandiose.
Yes.
Right. She's
yes.
over explaining.
Yeah.
But also
Over-explaining.
just and sorry to interrupt you, Todd, but to Britt's question also with respect to good faith. So now we've heard Ms. Deaver say good faith. And she also said, as long as lies are, quote, intentional, if there was an intent to lie. Those are legal terms of art that she was told. She was spoon-fed those by some attorney somewhere. Well, you didn't mean to. Did you intend to lie to the feds? And you did it. You gave your statement in good faith.
In good faith. Right.
That type of gaming of your story, it has to be perceived by this jury as total bullshit. If it's not, I'm going to go in there and smack the jurors on the back of the head next time I'm up.
Don't do that.
Oh, sorry.
Don't
Jury
threaten the
tampering.
jury.
Jury tampering.
Don't threaten the jury. Queegee, thank you so much for the 10. She says, what she's saying doesn't even make logical sense. Someone told this rookie to react. She's full of manure. And the fact that she is a Boston cop scares me. She should have kept this attitude in Canton. Exactly. All right, here we go. Back to testimony. All right, let me do this real quick. Adam, we got another lawyer in the room. Says, Todd, she keeps saying legal. She spoke to the legal team. Wouldn't she also have a union representative if this was going down the way that she claimed? Oh, Todd, please speak to this.
Yeah, you're not just going to, like Nan said, you're not just going to reach out to the DOJ just on a whim and have a conversation and try and clean up what your previous testimony was. Absolutely, positively would have had union representation as well as a legal counsel, and probably even her own attorney, based on the high-profile nature of the case.
I just wanted to add, I had an opportunity to meet Adam Tepper at North Shore Nacho Night last Monday. I think it was last Monday or 2 weeks ago Monday. He's a great guy and a very, very strong Free Karen Reed supporter. So hi to you.
Adam, maybe we can get you on the show sometime. I'd love to have you up on the panel. That would be great.
You'd really enjoy him.
Yeah, reach out to me. Let's connect. I'm going to drop my email in the chat, and maybe we can get you up here. We'll get you on with Nan and Todd. That'd be great. All right, let's keep playing through. Veruca Salt, here we go. I got to keep saying it.
Not to my knowledge, but I didn't go digging to find it.
When you mentioned the media sent you something, what did they send you?
So I've seen things in the media. No media has ever been directed for me to find it. It's just this case is unavoidable as a local person on the internet who sees things that get shared.
Well, thanks for telling the jury to go look.
Yeah, right.
Yes, prior to the first trial.
You mentioned that somebody had suggested you be charged with perjury.
Yes.
Who did that?
One of the male members of the defense team.
Why did they say that to you?
Okay, now she's changed her story again because she said, you, meaning Jackson, you threatened me with perjury. Now it's changed to, oh, well, it was a male on the defense team that threatened me.
Words matter.
They're all in the room.
What's that, Todd?
They're all in the courtroom. Pick one.
Yeah, right. Pick one. Point to him and say it was that one right there.
They were essentially telling me what they were looking for me to.
Now it's they. Now she's grouping everybody together because this is bullshit. This is a bullshit story.
Stay on the stand.
She's distancing herself from her earlier point.
Yeah, this is a bullshit story.
Yeah.
She's making this up. She's totally making this up.
I imagine Todd
They were looking
has
for me to say.
experienced this. Sorry to interrupt.
That's good.
I imagine Todd has experienced this when questioning witnesses. You know, they start to distance themselves. Suddenly, it's not you, it's a male member, it's they, and that type of distancing is usually indicative of deception. Whatever she's trying to deceive you with, it's there. I'm sure there's going to be behavioral analysts who look at this and look at her words in the coming weeks about how she's changed her story right before your very eyes.
Yeah,
she's a case study for sure, man.
Yeah.
100%. Katie, $5 says, notice that she has no problem saving her job by not lying, but has a problem lying about other officers or lawyers. And we got $10 here, says, when she's investigating, if she confesses, but then comes back and she said, never mind false memory, yet it fits exactly. But with what happened as the officer, she doesn't think it warrants questioning. It's a good point. All right, back to testimony. Here we go.
Say that I saw Higgins and Berkowitz in the garage with the car.
Did you share with them that that wasn't an accurate memory?
Yes.
How did they respond?
They became very aggressive, raised their voices. And the one word that I can very definitely remember is they said that they would charge me with perjury.
What did they want you to say?
They wanted me to say that statement, although I knew at that point it was not an accurate statement given the timeline.
How many times were you threatened with perjury?
At least once during the phone call, but once you say it once, it was enough.
What else happened during that phone call? Tell us the tenor of it. Tell us the content of it.
That was essentially the thing I remember most because I understood that was what they wanted me to provide for the trial. I was never called for the first trial. Therefore, I'm not exactly sure what else there is for me to say when the one thing that they wanted on the stand, it is factually not correct and cannot be provided.
That did not land well.
Tell us what your state of mind was.
Disappointment that legal counsel would go that route with someone who is from a factual timeline saying something is incorrect. There was no retracting based on emotion. It was very clear, given the timeline, it could not be correct.
Now you work with Boston Police Department?
Yes.
And by the way, when you were with Canton, did you ever talk to anybody about looting or planting evidence or doing anything like that?
No, and this conspiracy theory came out a year and a half later. I was gone.
Conspiracy
Did
theory.
anybody from Canton ever try to suggest to you you should or shouldn't say something to help her side of the case?
No, because I was never spoken to until far after I left.
Did you ever see anybody in this case or any time you were with Canton doing something improper and tampering with evidence?
Not in this case or any case.
If you had, would you have reported it?
Yes.
Sustain.
Move to strike.
I'll strike that, ladies and gentlemen.
Just a quick comment here, Brian, real quick.
Please.
I'm interested to see if maybe some employment records, or timesheets, or whatever the equivalent of them are procured pertaining to her overtime and when her shift ended. So while the defense doesn't have a burden here, and all of the burden rests with the Commonwealth, I'm actually a little surprised that the Commonwealth didn't produce something to dispel any dispute as to whether she was there or not. Because if I were Brennan, who goes out of his way to, hide the truth or skew the truth, I would have produced and said, here you go. Here are her records showing her shift ended. And like someone I think had put in your chat at some point, what about some video footage, which we all know how successful that type of procurement goes.
Well, here it is. Yeah, this is the moment. You're all just jaggled up.
Let Colleen Crawford get her paws on that.
Here she comes, and she goes to walk through the door, and all of a sudden it just goes blank. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
My question's this, and just going back to her emails, because remember when she said that she emailed the FBI, I don't know if she said it. She hasn't said it yet. I think it's coming up. Why would she hide those emails? And two, wouldn't that be put into evidence?
Yes. If she has, and she,
AJ goes, oh, you do? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So she as a fact witness doesn't have any obligation, although I didn't see what the subpoena said. So
Mm.
the subpoena will say, usually it's something called a subpoena ad testificandum e ducis tecum or en ducis tecum or ducis tecum. Sorry for all the Latin for all of you. But it essentially means bring all your documents, bring yourself and give testimony. So if she had that relevant documentation that would have been responsive to anything to be asked of her, or that would dispute or in any way contradict what is being asked of her or any allegations coming her way, she should have brought them. So she didn't. All she gave was her testimony, and it's full of shit. So
Shamwow, question for Todd. Were you taught to see something, say something, or look the other way? I feel bad for Deaver. She deserves a career. She's one of the good ones. She has $145,000 a year on the line. This is a sham. Kamish is boss. You gotta say-
ShamWow. She's got a lot on the line for sure. And she's testifying in a court of law. Keep in mind that Massachusetts licenses its police officers now. Your oath of office is not enough to save you throughout your career. You're actually licensed by the Municipal Police Training Council. So if there's any impropriety of your testimony of being less than truthful, you're putting your job on the line for sure.
$5. Katie said, also, if I ever get in trouble with my boss, I always say I'm going to say I'm sorry, and I must have had distorted an idea of what you wanted me to do. All right, let's get back to testimony. We're almost finished up here. Here we go.
Ever suggested that you should lean your testimony one way or another?
No.
Has anybody from Boston Police Department given you any rewards or favors for defying the defense position?
No.
Has anybody ever suggested that you should say anything whatsoever that would be unhelpful to the defense?
No.
Has the North Carolina District Attorney's Office ever encouraged you to testify in any way other than the truth?
No.
When you spoke to the chief of the Boston Police Department, did he in any way ever tell you to shake your testimony?
Not at all.
When you met with the Boston Police Department Commissioner, did he ever ask you the substance of what your testimony would or wouldn't be under oath?
He made it very clear he did not want to discuss the case at all.
When you spoke to the people at the Boston Police Department, have they ever weighed in any way on what they think you should or shouldn't say?
No.
As you're testifying here today, are you under any tension, undue influence, stress, threat?
There is discomfort with the way that there's attempting to guide what my testimony is, but I don't feel any need to fall into it because I'm here to speak the truth on the stand. That's my livelihood.
When you were threatened with burglary,
I'm going to speed up here. I want to get to where AJ is going to come back, and then here we go here. Let's finish up with this and then get the last point of AJ.
Charge someone with a crime, ma'am.
Oh, all right, let me back up
Personally,
just a little bit.
Right. Anybody with a crime? Police officer, correct?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I want to just finish up on this.
A male voice on that phone call threatened to charge you with perjury.
Yes.
You're a police officer, correct?
Watch Karen's
Yes.
face here.
Charges people with crimes.
If a crime is committed, there can be a report of it.
Who
So
charges people with crimes?
in the end, it's going to go through the court system. So the district attorney, the ADAs, that's who pursues it in a court
Yeah.
setting.
Have you ever seen a defense attorney charge anybody with a crime?
So you can seek out reporting someone for it.
Have you ever seen a defense attorney charge someone with a crime?
Hmm.
Personally, no.
Right.
he's
Fact of
so
the matter
good.
is, nobody ever threatened you with perjury, did they?
Oh, they did. Yes.
That's it.
I
That's it.
contacted the FBI regarding it.
Oh, did you?
I did.
You have a report?
I have an email conversation where I sent the 2 questions I had. She responded, I will pass these along. I was contacted by their legal team. They reassured me perjury was not applicable because I made a statement in good faith. Upon further information, I retracted it, corrected it, and made it clear that I could no longer say it because I knew that it was not a clear reflection of the events that took place.
That's coach.
Yes.
Yeah.
My question is, do you have a report from the FBI saying that you reported that someone on the Karen Reed defense team threatened to charge you, your words, with perjury? You have a
No.
report to that effect?
No.
No.
And if you notice, she's got nothing in writing about what she was allegedly told by the feds. Like, she claims she sent an email. She has an email asking questions. I'd love to see that. but nobody put to her in writing that all's going to be okay. And I dare say all is not going to be okay for her.
No.
The legal team, man, the legal team was more like the help desk.
Exactly.
I
I know.
love that.
I've called them. They're, they're as useful as a rubber crutch, as my dad used to say.
My thing in all of this, I'm going to pose this question to you, both of you, and we'll wrap up on this. I have to ask. She said her statement one way, then all of a sudden, after she wasn't called in the first trial, and in my opinion, there's got to be some people that got to her. Why would she reach back out to the FBI and say, hey, I got 2 questions for you. If
Yes.
X, Y, and Z, and they go, no, it's okay. It's not under perjury. She's getting set up to go into this testimony and twist her testimony.
That's
If
a
that
really,
made sense.
No, it did. That's a really subtle,
So
important point,
Who
which
talked
is
to her before that email conversation?
that should have been asked.
That's the
That-
$1 million question.
Yeah.
As we know, the Fed. I'm sorry, Nan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say every attorney always leaves questions or meat on the bones, questions on the table. Every attorney walks out of an engagement in a deposition or in a trial and says, oh, maybe I should have asked this. Maybe he should have asked that. But go ahead, Todd. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that we all have a strong feeling that the feds are still watching the outcome of this case, and she seems now to be a principal party as far as the witness list.
Yeah.
She better stop talking.
This was
Yeah.
in my opinion, I think it was brutal for the Commonwealth today. I think it made them look really bad. It opened a lot of doors, and later in the we started off with 2 law enforcement officials, then we heard about the agency, and then we just heard the FBI came out. And it was like, boom. When that moment came out, I was just watching X, watching all the social media. Everybody's going boom, 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 boom. FBI has now entered the chat.
Yeah. And
So-
I would also mention to you the ordering of these witnesses is delectable to me. You have the reading of the text, which let's just say for a moment, it's really great that the judge was allowing the Proctor texts in. I knew they should have come in, but I thought, it's Bev. But also, so the reading of those texts, and it's really something that I'm forecasting. I think they're going to call Proctor. I do. But then also the calling of Ms. Deaver, or we should call her Ms. Devious. It'd be certainly easier to pronounce than Dever. But the point is, the calling of her now sets the table. The jury now hears firsthand from the defense that there is an officer, meaning Ms. Deaver, who is reluctant to give testimony, who claims she had a false memory, who did not come across as credible, but who told another law enforcement agency that she saw the former chief of police of CPD and Brian Higgins, who they're going to learn much more about. They've only learned that he writes really awful text messages and has no game. That they're going to see that the 2 key parties of Berkowitz and Higgins had means, motive, and opportunity to be near the murder weapon. So it's a better order for me. That's how my brain works. And I think it's going to set that proverbial table beautifully for what's to come. And I'm really excited to see.
Todd, final thought.
So a lot of analysis on this witness. We learned a little bit more, got a little bit more insight as to, some of the behind the scenes of things. It's going to be tomorrow and trial is going to be another interesting day.
I agree. And I'm going to end on this one. Motions in CPA. Thanks for the 5. Says thoroughly enjoy the various perspectives from all 3 of y'all tonight. Well done. And I want to let everybody know we do this every Monday night through the remainder of the trial. We do these recaps and wind-ups every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're not subscribed and you haven't subscribed, you need to subscribe. Turn that bell notification on, or just come back here at Monday night at 8 p.m. You're going to get the same panel here, the same awesome experts and friends on this panel. And we go through, this testimony. We break it down and give our opinions. Let everybody know, just a programming note, on Wednesday night, Jess Machado will be back live here on the channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's a courtroom correspondent and a local independent journalist that is in the courtroom this week. So if you want jury reactions, she's got them, and you're going to want to join us 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday night. I want to thank my guests this evening, again, Todd McGhee and Nan Gallagher. I really appreciate doing these with you on Monday nights. And I have to say, I'm getting a little bit sad here because our time is winding down, and I hope that we get a final verdict to this case. And of course, I am very pro Karen Read. We need to see a not guilty, 100% acquitted in this case, so Karen can just go on. And I know she has a lot of legal tape after this, but just some sense of getting her life back together and moving on. And again, I thank you, my friends.
Thanks, everybody. It's great to see you. And don't be sad. I'm sure there'll be more things to talk about in the future after Karen Read is acquitted.
100%. All right, everybody, we're going to head out for tonight. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. What do you think of Veruca Salt's testimony today? And we'll see everybody back on Wednesday. And this panel will be back next Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everybody have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.